Alright, we are going to be looking at basic navigation and shortcuts. Now, the essence of this is to help us navigate in Excel, where you working, especially when you are working with large sets of data. So, these are some of the shortcuts we are going to be looking at. That is in addition to Microsoft Word shortcuts. And what do I mean by Microsoft Word shortcuts? I mean the basic shortcuts in Microsoft Word, such as Control C to copy, Control V to paste, Control A to highlight all, and Control S to save, and many other uh, shortcut function. Now let's move shortcut rather. Okay, let's move to the work now. So the first one I'm going to be looking at is navigating through yourself. As you can easily use the arrow up or arrow down or arrow left or arrow right on your keyboard. That's to navigate through the cells. So this is what I'm using. My arrow left to move to the left hand side, arrow right move to the right hand side, my arrow up to move to the upward, and my arrow down to move downward. So now the next one is control arrow keys. Now control and arrow keys is to move from one end of your sheet to another. For example, for me, control and arrow right, for example, we'll move to the, I'm currently on this, that is A12, cell A12. I want to move to the last column on this row. All I need to do is click control then arrow right to move to the last. You can see this is currently the last column in this 12 row. So now this will only work provided that there is no empty cell along its path. Now if I decide to delete, like I want to clear this particular, I want to make this particular cell empty, and I try to use that same method, now it won't take me to the last cell in this sheet. It will take me to the cell, the last cell before the empty cell across its path. Now let's try it. Control arrow right. You can see this is where it stopped because there is an empty cell here, so it stopped here. That's why I said provided that there is no empty cell. So let me undo that. Now there's a cell here. So now let me do that again. Now it will take me to the last column along that path. You can see it. So this is where it took me. Okay, so let me try that. I want to try that again. Arrow left will take me to the last cell by the left. Same thing with arrow up, take me to the last, the top cell along its path. Now arrow down will take me to the last cell along this column. Now control down, arrow down. Now this will help me to know that is provided also that they provided that there is no empty cell across its path. If there's any empty cell here, it will stop here. Now let's try that out again. And arrow up to the last, or rather to the top cell. Now let me try the arrow down and let's see where it will stop. Now it stopped at row 2808 because there is an empty cell here. Now let's reverse that. I filled the empty cell. To undo is just like Control Z, that's to undo. Now so basically that's it on control and arrow keys. Now let's try the next one, which is tab. Using tab to navigate, not merely clicking tab, it actually moves to the left, to the right hand side, depending on where you are. If I'm currently here and I try to click the tab key, it's going to move to the right hand side. Now let's go to the now if I'm to move to the left hand side, I'll need to click shift and tab. Shift tab will move to the left hand side. Now let's try that. Shift tab to move to the left hand side, but only tab. By clicking tab alone, move to the right hand side of anywhere I am. If I'm trying to be here, to move to the right hand side. Now I want to move to the left hand side, I need to just do tab, then shift, then click clicking tab. Just hold on the shift, then click the clicking tab to move to the other side. Now, for example, I have my word here, Victor, and I want to move to the right hand side to, or the next column close to Victor. I need to just click tab. Then I'm going to write another name, maybe Bolu. The next click tab again, Adams. So if I want to go up, that's simple. All you need to do is just arrow up, then clicking the name. I want to go to the left hand side. I really like to just do a click, arrow left, or tab then shift. The same result will be given. So let me undo those by clicking Ctrl Z to undo all I just did. Now I want to go back to the top. All I need to do is make use of the previous shortcuts we've made mention, and one of the shortcuts I made mention is to use this arrow sign, Control, then all I need to say, then up. Now the next one is making use of Control Shift then arrow keys. Control Shift arrow keys. Now what does this do? If I decide to highlight, I want to copy a set of numbers, maybe from here, from row 4, under this column. I want to copy it downward, down to the last row. All I need to do is Control Shift, then from here I'll just click Control Shift, then arrow down. Now it will highlight everything, then now everything has been highlighted. Then I need to just click my Control C, then I'll copy. So that's that basically on using Control Shift and arrow keys. Same thing applies to using copying across rows, or rather across columns. I can decide to say copy from this place, Control Shift, I want to copy down to the last column. All I need to do is Control Shift. Now this has to be at the same time, simultaneously. Control Shift, then arrow right. Now the reason why I stopped here is because there's an empty cell here, but for me to bypass it, I'll keep clicking my arrow right, then to go I have to bypass that one. Then I've reached the last, so I've highlighted it. I want to copy, paste. So that's another shortcut there. The next one is using Control Home and Control End. What does this do? Control Home actually go to the top sheet, or the top cell on your sheet, while Control End goes to the last cell rather on your sheet. Now let's try that. I'm currently here. I want to get to the top cell on my sheet. That's the A1 cell. A1 cell is the top. So I'm going to use Control Home. Now you can see it goes to A1 cell, which is this top. Why Control End will actually take me to the last cell on the sheet. Now let's try that. Control End. Now you can see the reason why it's coming is because probably I inputted something here, and let me delete, or rather delete whatever you have here. Now let's try that again. Control O to the top, control end to the end. So I guess this is where the stuff end. But then I wish it's probably there's a word, but normally, okay, let me see probably I there's something along the path which needs to be cleared. Now let's try that again. Control home to the top right corner, control end. Now it's still giving me that. Now maybe this is an extended file, but normally it ought to take me down here as if there's nothing underneath, but then it's taking me there. But then the essence is to see the end of our cell, which is this. So that's just to help us to navigate efficiently, of which the purpose has been fulfilled. All right, so the next one is page up, page down. What does page up and page down, what do they do? This is to skip rows up and down. Skip rows up and down. Now let me go to the first top corner. Now I want to skip row. I need to do is page down. Page down. Now what does this do? What does this do? This is to help us keep. Now the row is from 1 to 24. Now I've seen this row already. I want to see the next row, which will begin from 25 upward. Now I only need to do is page down. Now you see 25 to 48. The next one will be 49. Let me click page down. So instead of you scrolling, all I need to do is just click and move to the next set of rows. Now this is just to skip rows to the next row. That's the essence of page up, page down. Page up, page down can be found in the far right corner of your keyboard. So the next one I would like us to look at now is control up and control down. What does this do? This is to move from one sheet to another. Now currently I have about 4 sheets here: sheet 1, sheet 2, LOSL, and sheet 4. Now I want to move to this sheet 4 without clicking this mouse, without clicking using my mouse. All I need to do is to click control page down or page up. Now let me click control page down. It will move to the, now I say control page down. I'm able to move to my sheet 4. Now control page up will move to the left hand side. Now let me try again. Page up, I want to move back to my sheet 1. And I need to use control page up. Now it's currently as LOCL. I want to move it again. Control page up, sheet 2, and then control page up, sheet 1. So that's how it helps in navigating from one cell to another. Control page up, and control page down. The next one is alt and page up, page down. Alt, page up, page down helps to skip columns. Now the other one we did, which is page up, page down, which helps us in skipping from one row to another. Now the next one is to make use of alt page up and alt page down. This helps us to move from one column to another column easily. Now the column here ends Q. Let me extend it to that. So it's P. The column here ends P. So let me click on alt page down. It move all it in after P is Q. So the next row, or rather column I'm going to see here, will be Q. Alt page down. Now let's try that. Where are we? I'm here. Let's move. Now you can see I have Q, and that goes on and on. We have AK here, then AL. The next one will be AM. Now let's try that again. Page down. You can see AL. This one is B. The next one here is BF. the next one will be PG. You can see PG there, it goes on. Now I want to go back, it will take me back. So that's how to navigate using Alt page up and Alt page down. Don't forget the Alt sign, and everything can be found here. Like I say, yeah, Alt page up, Alt page down. It keeps skip rows. And I have the next one, which is Control Shift plus mouse. Control Shift plus mouse. What does this do? Control Shift plus mouse. Control Shift plus mouse is actually does the same work with this, with what I just did, which is Alt page up, Alt page down. It's move, but this one is not based on, it's based on how you want to move. You know, it depends on how you roll your mouse. That's how you're going to get your result. So you can see that's clicking the Control Shift, then rolling your mouse. So I guess we've touched everything. So this is just a brief tabular form of all the shortcut that I've been discussing so far. So I've done the other ones. So this one is Alt page, Alt arrow down. This is to suggest value. Now let's try that out. Now for example, okay, let me look at this. We have country. I want to get to the last cell in this column. All I need to do, Control arrow down. You can see, so that's taking me to this last cell, which is USC. Now under it is an empty cell. Probably maybe I've been inputting some data and I decided to input another data, maybe another country here. Now for me to know all the unique country, don't forget we have some duplicates here, and rather some country appeared more than once. We have USA here, it also appeared here, 3 here, and so on and so forth. Now for me to know all the unique value or all the country value, yeah, without repeating, all I need to do is what? To use the Alt page down. That's what I need to do. Sorry for that. So all I need to do is Alt page down to take me. Okay, sorry, what did I just click? Alright, let's, okay, where are we? USC. Now Alt page down, let's click it. Now you can see show me all the unique values in this cell, which is the country, in this column, which is country. You have your Australia, you have Austria, we have Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Japan, Norway, Philippines, Singapore, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, UK, USA. Now I can decide to pick, maybe I'm inputting certain countries and I decide to pick out of the countries that are already here. Maybe Spain. I don't need to type it again. All I need to do is to click Alt then arrow down. I'll have all the unique countries here. Maybe I need Spain. All I need to click now is to click Spain, and that's it. And it also helps. It also helps in knowing if there's any error. Maybe you had a unique name of a country. Let's say for example Finland, and I misspelled Finland. I omitted or I wrote N twice. It will definitely should, and I can go back to make the correction. Okay, so that it has a lot of advantages. That's another good example there. So now all this I've mentioned is in addition to, like I said earlier, is in addition to some shortcuts in Microsoft Word. You can easily make use of that. For example, I have Victor. I decided to copy Victor and move to the next one, paste it. So for example, copy, then paste. You understand? Copy is Ctrl C, paste is Ctrl V. So I can decide to also highlight. Highlighting is Ctrl A. Highlighting everything on a sheet. Maybe you want to highlight all the sheet here, all you need to do is use Control A. Now let me click it. Control A will highlight everything. Yeah. Now can we do that? Yeah, Control A. So that's that and that. So that's how to navigate using shortcuts in Excel. I hope this helped.